The world of global trade is changing in a way we have never seen before. Multilateral negotiations have cleared the way for mega regional trade agreements, and the big players of the global economy are forming up into powerful trade blocs. China is now the new kid on the block. China's journey from widespread poverty to growing prosperity took 30 years. During this time, China has become the world's biggest exporter, with the world's greatest financial assets currently invested on every continent.
The Chinese are investing a lot nowadays in Africa. One of the reasons is they would like to get raw materials from Africa, cheap raw material from Africa. And the other reason, they would like to use the advantage of cheap labor force from our African countries.
The big question, is the China-Africa investment a mutually beneficial relationship, or does one party get more than the other?
Capital moves into different parts of the world in order to make a profit. I think what is important is that we need to understand that very clearly. And in that process, we need to figure out what we also want to get out of those investments. So whether it's Chinese, whether it is European, whether it is American, all investment is meant to exploit to the benefit of those who bring the investment.
When you look at the previous Chinese investments, like the times when people are building stadiums, like maybe in Kenya it was the Kasarani, in Uganda we had the Namboles. Those looked genuine investment because they were giving us money and they could come and do the technology at that time. They would use our people, meaning that what we're doing is in tandem with what the labor laws would work. Today, the Chinese investment has been put to fight the World Bank. It's an investment which is coming to compete with the structures of World Bank. What am I saying? World Bank gives you money and encourages you to use the materials, the labor of the same country. For them, they only provide expertise in terms of technical advisors. Chinese investment, when they are coming, they are saying no. They are coming with everything. They have the money, they go ahead and even open their own bank. So even the government cannot even have a touch on the money. Government cannot have a touch on the money. The money remains within, it's their money, they will never see it. But above all, the abuse of labor. So you see that much as you see them doing work, doing many of this, it's the biggest exploitation ever we've had.
This journey to modernization and prosperity requires so much energy and resources that China can no longer supply by itself. China must therefore import large amounts of agricultural products, raw material and energy, which are then paid for with profits from consumer goods that China manufactures and exports.
The Chinese are very ready to invest in various areas because they see that there is a lot of potential. And as I say, what we need to do is to figure out exactly what we also want and make the regulations that ensure that we get the maximum out of those investments they come.
This trade has made China the largest trading partner for Africa. As this trade continues, are labor rights observed?
We came up with a project called Doing Responsible Business in Africa. And that's specifically for our colleagues, our friends from China. We were bringing them to a level whereby they can understand the business environment, the labor laws. We have taken them through quite a number of trainings. And basically is to equip them with information which will be very vital for them to up the task. So then when we are talking about healthy competition, it is actually matching, and the narrative is communicating what the employment sector is looking at. So you're talking about the labor laws, we are talking about any policy which goes with the parameters of employment and how then they can fit in that system and become part of the system, rather than coming and then they start violating the labor laws, and so shift changes from healthy competition and then other challenges that come along with the employment sector in the country.
It is a global belief that when the deal is too good, think twice. China has been referred to as the last colonialists hunting for oil and raw materials to feed its fast-growing economy. China's involvement in Africa is not without controversy, as conveyed by some typical headlines from the Western press. Into Africa, China's wild rush, and China in Africa.
Look, first thing that has to be understood about the Chinese construction companies here is that they are basically state-owned construction companies. They're not private, they're state-owned, which tells you that first of all, they don't have to make capital provisions to replace plant and equipment as they go along, because the idea is not really to make a profit, I think, so much as to stimulate the Chinese economy. Many of these buildings that have gone up with the financing from Chinese development banks, etc. And it is usually a requirement of these Chinese state-funded projects that 70% of all materials come from Chinese suppliers.
In much of Africa, they have set up huge mining operations.
But in 2013, it was a major issue because it was all over the place, in Ashanti region, in Western region, in Central region, and we were feeling the effect of the water bodies being destroyed. You could see water looking brown. You think it's an untarred road. I was shocked. Now this is what is happening because of such illegal mining activities.
They have also built infrastructure, but with exceptions. They have done so using equipment and labor imported from China.
We want to know why the Chinese are coming to Kenya in big numbers. The Chinese are now general laborers here in Nakuru. And we have people in Nakuru, Africans in Nakuru who are unemployed.
Most locals working as artisans for the Chinese contractors work under very tough conditions. They work for long hours. Many artisans don't have safety working equipment while at site. Their wages are too low and below $3 a day. Artisans are treated unfairly as compared to their Chinese counterparts. They don't have any form of social security. When injured at work, it is upon the artisan to get on medication. Artisans do not have a right to join or form a trade union.
Uhuru kwanza mwenyewe ajua kwamba serikali yako naye ana kazi ngumu. Manake sisi tunaumia sababu yeye anaruhusu watu wakuja kufanya nini hapa? Ukienda kwa hii bridge ni wa China peke yao. Kwani sisi hatuna tabu Kenya?
The investors are coming with consent conditions that we will do this, we'll provide you the finances, we'll provide the infrastructure, and then we'll run it for a number of periods. By the time that they finish running that industry, maybe their engines are gone, there'll be new type of engines coming, and that will require another new people who have learned the technology. So our people will never get jobs.
The global jobs crisis is one of the biggest security risks of our time. Continuing along the present path is taking the risk of a world more fragmented, protectionist, and confrontational. A continued lack of decent work opportunities, insufficient investments, and underconsumption leads to an erosion of the basic social contract underlying democratic societies that all must share in progress. It is upon the regional trade unions to ensure all investors on the continent must provide decent jobs, social dialogue, social protection and economic welfare for all workers, health and safety is observed, and gender equality at the workplace.